Namaste and welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you Vaidya's by now notorious green protein recipe. Why notorious? People have an immediate reaction after hearing the word green protein. They think it's one of those green protein shake recipes, the ones where you are adding whey protein powder and then blending in some raw vegetables, green vegetables, and drinking it first thing in the morning. So it's definitely not that. And then people have a reaction after they hear the entire recipe. They just go, oh, it's just saag paneer. You should have just said that. And it's neither a green protein recipe in the modern sense, and it's not a saag paneer, which is a traditional classical North Indian recipe where you're blending cheese, Indian cheese, with some greens. And it's neither one of those because the ingredients are different, they're very specific, and the preparation is very different. It's very different from saag paneer because you have to actually time it and you have to put it together in a very specific manner. So that's what we're going to do today. And I would like to also let you know that you can make this recipe either with fresh paneer, which is recommended, or with chicken if you are not a vegetarian. And you get similar results and good results with both cases. And if you do not know how to make fresh paneer, please do not replace it with any other kind of cheese like fresh mozzarella or anything that is out there, because the paneer has its very specific role in terms of supplying you with fresh protein molecules. Because the secret behind this recipe is, like I said, what goes in it and how it's cooked together and how much it's cooked, because the chemical reaction or the chemical balance that you get out of this recipe is what makes a difference in your physiology. Vaidya-Mishra put this recipe together for a very special person who was vegetarian and who came to know that she was depleted in iron, and doctors were telling her that she needs to be on a beef diet, which she did not want to. So he had to develop this recipe to supply her with the iron that was needed for her physiology. And he researched it and he came up with this. And he's going to be talking about the actual science behind this recipe and why it works, because it does work. That lady's blood tests showed that she was no longer depleted after consuming this recipe and using it for a few months, along with other things, of course. But so it's very important to do it just as I do it. But the good part is that it's a very easy recipe, and if it's the end of your day, like it's mine, and it's been very hectic, and you're tired and you're famished, and you really couldn't be bothered about, thinking up any recipes, you just come home. Maybe you will always make sure that you have a few nice fresh greens in your refrigerator, and paneer is something you can make every 4 to 5 days even and keep in your fridge, so it's something that's also handy. It will literally take you less than 10 minutes or 10 minutes at the most probably to put the whole thing together. So let's do that together right now. You're going to need a pot, just so, nothing too deep or too shallow, because we're going to cook everything in it together. I had some water there, so that's what's, I'll just pour it here. Okay, I'm going to add some ghee. I'm going to add some mom's masala. And then some soma salt. If you don't like to use mom's masala, or you don't use it for whatever reason, you may use your own spice mix, and or if you still don't want to use that, you can maybe just add some cumin seeds and a little bit of turmeric. But mom's masala is very balanced, or any other masala that was given to you individually for your physiology will also be very good for you to use. And then we're going to add some paneer. I'm not going to follow the exact proportions in this recipe, but you can get the exact proportions by emailing us, or it will be in our upcoming newsletter, in this week's newsletter. And we can email it to you, or you can also call us at the Prana Center. The number and the email contact should appear at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to put the paneer in here. and make sure we blend it in nicely. We coat it with the ghee and the masala. And it doesn't really need to cook, it just needs to be infused with the masala and then coated in the ghee. And I'm going to lower this. And while I give that a couple of minutes, I'm going to get some fresh leafy greens. The reason we use leafy greens is because of the chlorophyll in them. And when we cook the greens, just the amount that we're going to cook it, and you're going to see that, it releases lipid-soluble chlorophyll, which is very close in chemical structure to heme iron. And when you blend that with the protein from the paneer, you get a very special kind of molecule that is very nourishing, very easy to absorb, and very energizing for the physiology. So that is the whole point, and that's the secret of the green protein. So I'm just getting, I have Swiss chard here. I have kale. You can get the other dinosaur type if you like. And then I have collard greens. Maybe we'll put another leaf of collard greens because they're very, very flavorful. But this is really too big. Okay, here we go. Let's do it this way. And then I'm just going to chop this up very quickly and roughly. You don't need to worry about the size of it because it's all going to be blended. But you have to be able to cook it just a little. There we go. I'm going to add all this in here. You can use the stems, but not too much because it's more fiber. Less fiber is easier on your digestion. We're going to add a little bit of water. And I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. And then we're going to seal it. And we're going to cook it just enough until the greens gain a bright green color. You don't want them to go into the darker green, just bright green, which means they've been activated by the heat, they've been infused with the ghee and the spices, and then it's the right time for you to remove it and then to blend it. So I'll get my blender ready, and this usually doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. So while the greens are cooking, I would like to invite my dear friend Camille, who is a tremendous help, who loves green protein and who helps me put these recipe sessions together. Without her, it would be truly impossible. Camille, please come and say a word about green protein.
Good experience.
We're here taping the green protein YouTube video. My husband's also in the audience. This is probably the recipe I've taught to most of my friends. I would say easily 30 of my friends are using this recipe. It is extraordinarily delicious and very satisfying. And many times, Peter and I will only have this for dinner. I personally think it's one of Vaidya-Mishra's most remarkable contributions. Many people are vegetarian, but they are not getting the protein that they need. And this single recipe has made a tremendous difference. So thank you for the invitation.
It's always nice to be able to share delicious recipes and all this knowledge with friends and to learn from each other with the techniques, so on and so forth. And what Camille was saying is that this really makes things so much easier because it's an easy recipe to prepare, but it's also so easy to digest. It's so good, it's so easy on the stomach, it's easy on the gut, because it's blended, but also because of the way it's prepared. So it makes all of that protein and that iron available to your physiology right away. And it's also easy to carry. You can make it in the morning. You know that the cutoff time for prepared food, meaning you don't want to eat leftovers, right? So if you prepare it 4 hours earlier, by 4 hours you should have consumed it. So if you make it first thing in the morning, you can take it with you along to work, and you can put it in a little thermos where you would ideally maybe put your coffee or your tea, and then you can just drink it that way, because you can make this green protein as thick or as thin as you like it. It's up to you. It's up to how much agni you have, digestive fire. and you can dilute it with a little bit more hot water. I will show you how we'll do that as well in a minute or so, and just carry it with you. And another thing you can also do is add a little bit of lime, fresh squeezed lime on top, to top off the whole thing and give it a little more flavor as well. So our greens are getting there. I'll show you, and let me just mix it a little bit. So it will depend on whether you decide to use Swiss chard, which cooks really fast. Oh, and you can also add some spinach if you like, baby spinach leaves. Swiss chard will cook really fast. Kale and collard greens will take a little more time, just maybe a couple minutes longer, so you might want to adjust your cooking time accordingly. But this should be done by now. So I forgot to add one more thing, which is very important for flavor, but also for iron. This is not cilantro, this is parsley, fresh Italian parsley. I like the flat leaves, but you can choose the curly ones. So I'm just going to add a few sprigs of parsley as well. It will make a world of a difference. You can also, I mean, it's not a set thing. You can experiment with whether some days you want to make it with one leafy green, other days you would like to make it with 2 or 3. Some days you want to add the parsley, other days you don't want to add the parsley. So if you will be on a diet where you'll be consuming this on an almost daily basis, it's nice to have a little bit of variation for your taste buds. So I definitely want to show you the color, and this is what it should be like. It should not get any darker than this. So we want the bright green. I'm going to go ahead and pour the whole mixture. There we go. Alright. And we're going to blend it. I think we're going to need definitely more water. Ideally, I would have some hot water from a kettle so that you don't disturb the cooking process by cooling things off, but we'll use what we have today. So let's see, the texture is really nice, it's smooth and creamy. And then I'm going to get a glass just to show you. You can of course also serve it in a bowl, you don't have to put it in a glass, I mean if you have guests over. And then we're going to squeeze some fresh lime on top. Okay, and then here we go. Here's your green protein. Enjoy.